Hey guys, welcome back to part two of my Alien well, I think I called them reviews perhaps in my last video, but it's more of a, it's just me sort of talking about the films, I guess. So I've done the first video, I did the first movie, Alien, and then I did Aliens, the sequel, and so I'm just going to talk about the sort of Alien 3 and then the Resurrection. And then I'm going to hopefully go and see the new Prometheus movie, and then I'll do a bit of a review of that as well. So we'll get on to Alien 3. Now first of all, I should mention I think I've watched this film 3 times in the last 2 days, sort of twice today. Watched the sort of the extended cut. Then I watched the theatrical version. Then I watched the it's extended cut with commentary, not by David Fincher, the director. I think he I hear he sort of refused to do an audio commentary for it. Out of the 4 films, he's the only person the only director to sort of say no to that. I think because I'm not sure a lot of people know, but because very much I think Fox, the studio, had a lot of sort of tampering with the film, and it definitely wasn't the film that David Fincher wanted to sort of make. So I think he sort of, in some ways, disowned the film. And it's definitely the film that a lot of people really hate out of the whole series. They really, look down on it, and which I've never really quite understood really. I think it's actually quite a good film, and in some ways a hell of a lot better than Alien Resurrection. I think that was pretty much a really bad movie. I mean, yeah, I think some people need to realise that, I'm sure a lot of people probably don't know, and when you watch a movie, you don't necessarily know all the backstory of the film and the creative control that sort of went into it. But I think you find that David Fincher was his very first movie, his very first full-length film, and he definitely had to make a film that was going to be, had to sort of, contend with the first 2 movies, which in some ways people, remark as being masterpieces. So that he definitely had to try and make something a bit special, and definitely something, he wasn't going to make a boring. He didn't want to make a sort of boring action flick. Really much like the Resurrection movie. If that had sort of been the 3rd movie, I'm sure a lot of people would have hated that too, because that's very much a safe movie and very dull and just an action movie, and I think with a lot of that much substance. So I think Da Vinci definitely tried to make something different, and tried to make his stamp on it, and I think in some ways he was very stopped from doing that. I mean it's I sort of listened to the commentary, and a lot of people said that he was very passionate about it in the beginning, the process, the very beginning of it, and really wanted to make his own film. And I think after towards the end of the making the film, I think he was really worn out and just totally sick of fighting, I think, for it. But I think you definitely start off with making a lot of good intentions and a lot of want to make his own sort of film. So definitely, it was his first film, and he had to sort of try to make a stamp on it. I think he had to try and make his own sort of film. And he's a good director, because he's made Seven and Fight Club, a lot of really good movies. After making his first one, Alien 3. A lot of people had a lot of issues with the storyline, and I think in some ways it was just. I think some people just didn't like the premise. I think it was too much. It was too bold of a premise for some people to latch onto and believe, I guess. A lot of people had issues with the killing off of two of the main characters from the end of the first movie, which never really bothered me that much. But I suppose I can see issues. I suppose. I mean, I hear that James Cameron was a bit, felt it was a bit of a slap in the face. I suppose because we the second movie, so the last half of the movie, it's very much the survival of the the main 3 4 characters, and then having spend all that time trying to survive and just making that just by the skin of the teeth, and then in the next movie they've 2 of those main, or 3 of those main characters, I suppose, are killed pretty much straight off, and people I don't know, people perhaps didn't like that because they were I don't know, almost fell in love with those characters, I suppose, and didn't like that. But I think it was. I think in some ways I would say it was probably a better film without them. But I mean, there were certain things that were probably going to happen. I mean, if you've got a film that's sort of set in a prison with a bunch of murderers and child molesters and stuff, I definitely wouldn't have wanted to see a film about a prison full of those sort of men trying to rape a little child. I think it was just something we just didn't want to see. So that was totally, so I can sort of see why that was sort of, that sort of character was cut. And I mean, we had a little girl that was in the second movie, and this would have been 5 years later. So they obviously would have had to have got a new actor to play that actress. So, and then again with Hudson, I mean he was sort of, I don't know, a bit of a. It could have easily turned into like just a love story between him and Ripley. So that would have been. I mean, I'm not saying that would have happened if he was still in the movie, but it could have been a lot worse with having him in the movie. I think in certain ways they could have done it. And people just complained it was about, I don't know, some people reckon it was just too dark and too horrible. But I mean, it's not it's not a Disney film, is it? It's an R-rated horror movie. Well, at least the first one was. So I kind of liked that it was sort of a new sort of darker type step and a new sort of direction, compared to the sort of the first movie. And I mean, I'm not saying the movie was perfect. It had a lot of sort of problems, especially with the script and just a lot of things that were. I think things were sort of being changed all the time, and Finch had to sort of fight the whole time in the movie to try and get some control of it all. I think the Fox just wanted to step in and sort of change everything, and so I think there's a lot of that's why the script was changed so halfway through, and it's just things were sort of reshot, and sort of if you can sort of watch the two sort of versions of the films, there's a lot of differences between the two. And I think the second sort of extended cut's there's a lot more storyline in it and a lot more character development and a lot better film. I think there's still some things in the original that I sort of wish they'd sort of kept in the extended cut. But anyway, I just think it's a great movie. I just think it's got a great atmosphere and great sort of direction. It's got great sort of cinematography and a real sort of dark and sort of depressing sort of tone to it, and great set design and. Interesting sort of characters and good acting, and has a really good sort of musical score in it, and I just think it's a very bold film. I think people just weren't expecting a movie like this, and that's why they sort of, when it first came out, they just totally rejected the whole idea. And I think in the last sort of, and I'm saying this, the last 10 years, I think people are starting to sort of appreciate it more, especially with the obviously the release of the extended cut. And I think a lot of people are starting to realise that it was actually a really good sort of film. Then you sort of go on to Alien Resurrection, which I think is pretty much a terrible film. A lot of people seem to like that a lot more than say Alien 3, but I think Alien 3 was just a more bolder, just a better movie and had more substance to it than the Resurrection. It just, I don't know, it had lots of sort of I think the whole thing was just pointless. I couldn't really sort of see, like Ripley dies in the Alien 3, and then you've got her cloned, and they could sort of perhaps bring her back would be to clone her, and it sort of set 200 years after the Alien 3, and I just couldn't sort of get into the premise of these scientists still trying to, capture the aliens and trying to use it as like some sort of, for the military or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, I'm sure after 200 years they would have sort of given up on that idea, as obviously learnt that it wasn't going to work. And it just, I don't know, it was written by, screenplay was written by Joss Whedon. Obviously he's been, the creator of Firefly, and there's a lot of Firefly type interest, if anyone's seen this movie, I think, and I just didn't like it. I just couldn't get on board with the cloning and the super Ripley that was sort of created. Like, she was really, had super strength, and it just, I don't know, for me it just totally took away from the first two movies is all about her, just a normal person just trying to survive, and having no weapons, and trying to be smart and just trying to overcome all that. But there she's just like some sort of superhuman alien hybrid that can do anything she wants, and it just I don't know. I just didn't sort of like that, and it had I don't know really sort of I don't know unlikable characters in it, and just I don't know sort of pretty standard sort of storyline that just didn't seem to go anywhere. And I think it has some good scenes here and there, but the same director that did Amelie, which is one of my sort of favourite sort of foreign movies, and I've seen some of his films before, and he's definitely a great director, and I've enjoyed his movies, but I think he just wasn't the right sort of director for this particular movie. I certainly didn't like the hybrid sort of alien at the end, Ripley being a mother to this alien hybrid, and just I don't know. I think the last 3 minutes is just pretty much laughable. I think it's just a ridiculous idea that you'd have this sort of alien that's and Ripley being the mother to it, and so definitely I definitely think Alien 3 is definitely an underrated film, and Resurrection's a pretty awful movie. So that's my thoughts on those movies. So hopefully I'll go and see Prometheus, and I'll do a review of that sometime in the next few days, and put that up for you to watch. If you want to make some comments down below, I'd certainly love that. Tell me why you hate Alien 3, or you love Alien 3, or if you prefer Resurrection, what your reasons are. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So till next time, I'll see you later. Cheers, bye.